Boom! That's on behalf of Byron Rogers because he does that a lot.
Oh, okay.
So he goes, boom! So
I don't. Just gonna take out that $1,000 camera real quick.
Yeah, no, I don't do it as good as he does, but I try. Anyway, this is Luke here, and I am here today with Kyle Litzie.
What's going on, guys? Kyle
Litzie is one of, or in some opinions, the best three-gunner in the nation right now. And you won, what did you win this year? You won Surefire Worlds, you won Safariland Nationals, you won
Vortex Shooter Source.
You won the AK match, Red October, yeah. So you can shoot an AK as well. And he's
where it all started for me, man. With the
really,
I was an AK freak before I liked these things.
Oh, okay. And then he can shoot a pistol like a mother too, because we shot where we met at the Gunsta Cup this year in California, and I took first in carry optics and you took first in production, yeah. But you still beat me, which was depressing to me. Like you were like right above me. I was like, mother. Anyway,
just a few more reloads.
Yeah, just like 100 more reloads. So Kyle's a great, well-rounded shooter, and I had a very kind of direct and simple question to you. How does one get good with a rifle? Like, what do you recommend? You know, like, hey, maybe I've done some stuff in the military, but I want to up my game, or I've never shot a rifle. Some of these listeners might not have ever shot a rifle before. Maybe they've shot a little pistol or something like that, but they've never gone out and bought themselves a AR-15. So kind of more, let's keep it specific to the AR-AK platform. How does one kind of, from the beginning, get good with a rifle? What do you recommend people do? Because from what I see out there, it's kind of like, well, just go get training, go to classes, things like that. But yeah. Like I have personal friends, and some of you know who you are, that just shoot lots and lots of classes, and that's really all they do. And I see them get to a certain level, but they never really progress from that. Then I see some people take no classes and they become amazing rifle shooters. Yeah. So just sort of, you know, if you meet a new shooter and a new person comes out, you know, and they're like, hey, and take the gear out of it for now, we'll get to that, but you know, I want to become a good rifle shooter, go.
So I think what it boils down to on the simplest level would be you got to put a lot of time into shooting and thinking about shooting. Oh. Not just actually being at the range, but thinking about shooting. And I mean, there's a few different facets of that. I think one thing would be you need to fully understand your gear. You need to, I'm talking all the way down to the basics. Like, you need to understand everything about your rifle. You need to understand how a cartridge works. You need to understand, you know, height over bore. You need to understand where that barrel is, where the scope is, where the rounds are going at different distances. You need to understand, you don't just need to go, oh, I need to zero my gun. You need to understand why you're zeroing. Why are you zeroing at 50? Why are you zeroing at 100? What's the reason? What's the bullet doing? What is the arc of the bullet? What is how does the bolt system work? How does it unlock and lock? And yeah, you know, just totally understanding the mechanics of a rifle. And when you fully understand something from the ground up, I think you can. It also improves your shooting in many different ways, you know?
Yeah. Well, like kind of going off of the zero thing, you know, we were talking about that a lot today. We both shot nationals and worlds together. Kyle did much better than I did. I still did good for my first three-gun match. I had a good time. Made some huge mistakes and learned a lot, like any big competition. But you know, we all had different zeros. Like you had a zero, then our mutual friend Travis Gibson, he had like I think a 300-yard zero. I was going off of a 200-yard zero that I used some applications to get that. You know, what were you running zero? I forgot.
So and that's the thing, you need to think of like, what do you want to do with your zero? Mm-hmm. And for three-gun, I want to be fast. I want to be fast on close targets paper where I'm just point of aim, point of impact, and I want to be fast on small targets at 300, 400 yards. So for that, in my mind, the fastest way to do it is to have a BDC reticle, a ballistic drop reticle that's actually tuned to the load that you're shooting. So you know, you're not thinking, oh, how many mil? 300 yards is, you know, 1.5 mil or something like that. It's just, this line's 300, that line's 400, this line's 500, and anything in between, you're just bridging those gaps. And so in my case, I tuned my zero to the first line on the BDC. I zero with that 300 line, so that 300 is exactly there, and I find that lines up the best for my point of aim to be 200, the next one to be 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
So for what I'm doing, it's kind of a 300 yard zero, and what that means is that I also understand that at 200 I'm a little high.
Yeah.
At 100 I'm a few inches high. At 50 I'm still a couple inches high, and just 50 yards, where it's not affecting what I'm doing nearly as much as having that mismatch at 300, 400, 500 yards.
Yeah.
So for what I'm doing, I put a lot of thought into where I want my rounds to hit, how I want to set my gun up, and that's the best, most efficient way I could come up with. And so that, as far as gear goes, that's a big part of it.
Getting into the learning how to shoot part, what do you recommend for guys out there? Let's start off from the biggest basics, which is like, I've never shot a rifle before. How do I shoot this thing?
So this one's kind of a hard question for me, because how I said time, putting in a ton of time. I've put in so many hours of rifle shooting, it's sickening, because that's all I wanted to do when I was 12 years old with a pellet gun every single day of my life after school, figuring out how to shoot prone, how to shoot offhand, figuring out, I made a little pellet trap in my backyard, and I'm shooting, trying to figure out how to shoot the tightest group. So I spent thousands and thousands of hours of my life figuring out all these mechanics and how to pull a trigger right, and I did it largely on my own. I didn't really get much formal instruction. That being said, if I was a guy looking to get into it and I'm an adult, and I haven't had that much experience shooting, I think taking a class would be a huge time saver.
Yeah.
Because there's two ways to do it. You could try to figure out everything on your own, or you can go take all this knowledge from somebody like myself, or countless other instructors that have put in all this time, and some instructors that have learned from 20 other instructors, and then they're bringing all that to the table, so you can just jump ahead in your skill level immediately. You can learn all these fundamentals that would on your own take you hundreds, thousands of hours, whatever it may be, to figure out.
And I find it, for me at least, I had some formal trainings from kind of the mill LE world, but then it was really refined because I got out there and you start realizing, okay, not everything they're telling me is working for me, at least. Like today, we were doing a lot of positional shooting at 300 and at 100. A position that worked for you, just with my body type, didn't work.
Yeah.
But when you start kind of getting down to it, first off, vet your trainer, and then realize that not everything that trainer says is gospel, at least in my eyes and from what I've seen.
I think bad instructors will tell you that everything they say is the only way.
Yes.
I think good instructors will tell you, this is how I do it, but think for yourself too. Use your brain, think about the most efficient way, because there's no way anything that we do is set in stone. There's no perfect way. People's brains work differently. People think about things differently,
process and everything else. But for example, a great instructor is like you guys all know about Mike Pannone, our mutual friend. The way he does his and manages his malfunctions, that's something I've learned way later in life and kind of taken as like, oh, okay, that's gospel. It's not because he's my friend, or it's not because he was Delta Force Ninja. It's what made the most sense to me. It was like, oh, that's very simple and makes a lot of sense, and I can use that and apply it to just about any rifle I pick up and grab. And I shoot a lot of different rifles. I shoot AKs, I shoot 308s, and I even do some PRS stuff. Yeah. But I've taken things from all those worlds and sort of combined them together. Like, today I was showing you some things at the long range stuff that I learned from shooting PRS. And the way I utilize my reticle and the long range stuff I do, I picked a lot of that stuff up from hanging out with all these PRS dudes. And in that world, if you guys haven't done it and you want to get into it, man, go spend $1,000 on a Ruger precision rifle and buy a Bushnell scope and go get into that world, because you will learn so much from that you can then translate into AR stuff. But aside from that, kind of after the basic class, or maybe some guys have some they have some fundamentals down. They've shot ARs before. Maybe they're LE guys. We have a lot of LE guys that listen, or military guys. Taking that to another step, to another level. What do you see translating? Like for me, I became a better rifle shooter when I became a better pistol shooter. So I started shooting competitive pistol, and then once I started, you know, kind of going back into the rifle world, I was like, oh wow, why am I so much better at this?
Yeah.
You know, but what are kind of the steps you see or you recommend to guys that maybe have some of the basics down, but you know, they want to up their game to a whole nother level?
I think in general, shooting competition, whether it be you go shoot a USPSA handgun match, you shoot a 3-gun match, you go to a rifle, IPSC style rifle, you know, what would you call it, tactical rifle match?
Yeah.
Being on the clock and gauging yourself against these people who are, you know, high level shooters, that alone is gonna give you a huge kick in the ass, no matter what. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. If you've shot 500 deer in your life and it's no big deal, all of a sudden you go shoot against some of these guys in competition and you realize, man, you may be able to make shots, but they're doing it in half the time that it's taking you.
Yeah.
So I think by just going to a competition, it opens your eyes to the skill level that's out there, what's possible.
Yeah.
And then I think reverse engineering things. You see the things you want to get better at, you see it in competition, and then you can go and dry fire, which is huge. I know some people think you only need the dry fire handguns, but
no, putting in those underwear hours.
Yep, underwear dry fire. It's the only way to do it.
That's how Byron calls them underwear hours. He's like, man, I'm like, what are you talking? He's like, I'm in my underwear sitting there dry firing. So I was like, okay, cool. But
and you can do everything though in dry fire. You can do anything that you would do in live fire. Some people think it's just reloads, or clearing a malfunction, like weapon manipulations. No, you can do transitioning targets. You can work on your trigger pull. You can work on getting into positions, stable positions, and breaking a clean shot. All that stuff you can work on in dry fire.
Absolutely.
And I think without going to a competition or something like that, or taking classes maybe, you're just not going to have the baseline to gauge what you're doing. And
have you, at least for me, I've seen it translate over, like, you know, we were talking about a mutual friend of ours who was at that match. He was in my squad, in my division, and he beat me. And he's about, I think he's 50 years old, and he's a sergeant on a very large, well-known SWAT team. You know, and I'm like, you're on a SWAT team? Like, I never seen a SWAT guy shoot like this. Does your team know you can shoot like this? Yeah. You know, I was kind of like, bro, do they even know how good you are? Because the guy was unbelievable. Yeah. He was really amazing. But, you know, at least from him, and maybe this is something you've seen, because I know you've done some training as well. Have you seen it all translate over, like the application, you know, translate over into a tactical world?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Shooting fast and accurate is going to benefit you in the tactical world just as much as it benefits you in competition. I think this crazy stigma that used to be around that shooting competition is going to get you killed in the streets because you're going to, for some reason, unload your gun after you get done engaging a threat or something like that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of these guys that are ex-special forces, ex-cops, ex-SWAT teams, ex-snipers, whatever it may be.
They're all at those matches.
They're all at the matches.
Like,
they're all promoting.
Crazy how many, like, tier 1 guys I've met at matches. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, this is what I do. I'm like, wait, really? Yeah. Like, and I'm kind of like, oh, cool. I've never met one of you before. You know, it's like, nice to meet you.
And I've heard a lot of them also say that the pressure, and go imagine this, like, this being said, I'm a freaking automotive clay modeler. I sculpt cars for a living. I'm not a cop. I'm not nothing. Never had any military experience. But, you know, you see these guys and they say it's more stress sometimes than being in a fast gunfight. I've heard so many law enforcement officers say that the stress of everybody looking at you and a timer going off and executing a whole stage is more stressful than this 3-second shootout that happens because your brain doesn't even have time to realize what the hell is going on in a shootout. And operating under stress is obviously also shooting fast, accurate, and doing so under stress are all going to be super beneficial to whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
I think it even benefits hunting too. Like I was told you, I've been watching that Meat Eater show a lot.
Oh yeah.
and dude, I mean, I'm looking at some of the shots he's taken. I'm like, man, like I feel like if I go do this, I've never really gone big game hunting, but I feel like I would be so far ahead as far as taking a clean shot on a deer with, you know, through the bushes and timing it and being calm. Like from doing this kind of stuff, it would for sure benefit that. I mean, this is all speculation, but
yeah. No, and just kind of to go over the gear side of things, guys, real quick, you don't need a lot to get, like, don't be kind of whiz bang wowed by, you know, you'll come to a competition, you'll see some guns, like Kyle's got a gun, you know, when it really comes down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's a very basic rifle that he has. The stock might trip you out because it's different than what you're used to seeing, but you know, this is my competition gun here, and it's an LMT with a FN barrel, and I do have the Surefire bolt system in here, but you know, this kind of looks whiz bangy, but at the same time, that's kind of that trend that we're starting to see, where you're starting to see a lot more low power variable optics. Yeah. They're becoming so good. Like this Collis for me is, like you showed me today, you were like, why don't you shoot your because I have an offset red dot sight because the division I shoot is open, but we're back at 50 doing some speed stuff, and he was like, why don't you go ahead and try it on your optic? And I switched to my optic and I shot it faster and more accurate. I was like, wow, okay. So the 1 power is so good on this. I know you love the Vortex stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, again, Vortex has a Viper line that is really great. Byron actually shoots a Strike Eagle, and he, you know, has placed really high in a lot of matches.
I shot a Strike Eagle for my first year of 3-gun, and it is fine.
Yeah.
The Stadia lines for the BDC is exactly the same as this scope.
Yeah.
Glass isn't as clear. You know, it's not as the reticle's not as crisp. It's not daytime bright, but it's fine. You could have a M&P Sport with a Strike Eagle slapped on it, some magazines, and you don't even really need a belt to get started with a rifle.
Yeah, I actually have shot rifle matches with it. We have the 511 pants with the little mag thing. I used to put that was my reload right
good,
there,
man.
I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah, these puppies got freaking mag pockets all over. You don't even know like, you have them.
It's like I just like threw it back there one time. I'm like, I don't even need to wear a belt right now. This is kind of cool, but you know, it doesn't take a ton to get into it. You know, you get just a basic cheap rifle. I push a lot of people financially that are, you know, sort of maybe in a financial situation where they can't afford the best. I push a lot of people to Colts because I found they just work and they're very accurate. They're accurate enough. And then, you know, maybe that first thing is get a handguard that's free floating. You know, like the Titan handguard's amazing. This is a Geisley handguard on here. And then, you know, hey, I got a couple $100 or $100 to spend, maybe go look at a trigger. Outside of that, you know, then it's just really small modifications that add up to a lot. But
you're better off going to your first match or your first class with the most basic gear possible. Shoot other people's stuff, see what other people are doing, see what's holding you back.
Yeah.
Going out and buying a bunch of that you know nothing about, or you know, you're just
because you saw it in a magazine or online or something,
it's not doing you any favors. You're way better off going in with the bare minimum and then figuring out from there, which is exactly what I did. I mean, I went in with just what I had, and
you won stuff.
Well, I won stuff, and I figured out slowly what I wanted. Like, why do I need these things? What do I want to do to my rifle?
Yeah.
And slowly built my way up to having good gear without repurchasing 20 different times. You know, buying a bunch of crap, get rid of that, put it in the junk drawer, get more crap. Oh, don't really like this anyways. I slowly bought stuff as I realized what I wanted, and I think that's the best way to upgrade your gear.
My most recent, I've had 2 people I've helped get rifles recently. One had a certain budget of less than $1,000, and I ended up getting him into one of the Geisley rifles that went on sale for Black Friday for like $700. And the dude's like, oh wow, I got like $500 left over. Sweet, check this company out. And I sent him to Vortex, and I think he ended up spending a little bit more, and he got the Viper, you know, the 1-6 Viper.
It's like $600.
Yeah, I came out here, zeroed the rifle with him. He's shooting like a 1.6 group. I was like, crap, that's a fantastic rifle.
Yep.
You know, and then another guy wanted to spend some more money, and I sent him to Titan Ballistics to get kind of more of a rifle set up like yours. And he absolutely loves it, you know.
And that's the funny thing. It's like they're so modular nowadays. ARs are just the tinker toys of of guns. Like you can get a basic Titan ballistics rifle, whatever, and get the cheapest base model, and you can figure out what you want with that, and then change out whatever parts you want. Change out and make it into the competition gun or the tactical gun that you want, depending on which way you want to go.
Yeah, and like because it's such a modular system, there's definitely a lot more crap out there than there is good, I think.
True.
Like I'd said just before, guys, look at the big companies. They do make some great stuff. Like I really like the Colt for that low price, but then with Geisley, with what they're offering, it's just more of a rifle for the money right now. So, I'm pushing some guys to Geisley, but outside of that, I throw a lot of people to, check out Titan, check out Terran Tactical. I think his rifle for the money is great. It's a really good, accurate barrel build off of. So be careful out there when you're shopping around for that kind of stuff, guys.
Yeah,
but
beware the guns with lots of holes in them.
Yeah, nothing with holes.
Yeah, you don't want holes where the bolt is and stuff like that.
Yeah, one thing that a lot of people don't think about with competition, guys, is reliability is everything. I have lost matches because I was trying to save a little bit, and the gun wasn't reliable, and it killed me. And especially at your level, you can have a 15-stage 3-day match and win by like 3 seconds, or something like.
Oh, it's happened by less than a second.
Yeah, I won a larger match recently by 0.5%, like on a 9 or 10 stage match to win by, 0.5.
Yep.
Like, are you kidding me? That's
so having one nasty malfunction, you're
so,
contrary to the popular belief of competition guns are set up all stupid and unreliable, and it's not the case. Tactical guns and competition guns both need to be set up reliably.
And that comes because I remember getting into competition at first, the guns were unreliable because the people didn't understand some of the things on them, like adjustable gas blocks and how to really set up an adjustable gas system, buffer, bolt, and we didn't have companies out there like Titan that just kind of, we already did the legwork. We know what this needs to be set at, so guys would get out there and it was very unreliable stuff, and it gets to a point where like, God, I just want a Colt, like I'm over this,
I just want some basic,
I just want like the basic thing that's going to work for me. But I think as competition has grown and it's gone leaps and bounds, its reliability is everything. That's first and foremost. And then you start getting into the other things, accuracy and shootability and whatnot. But if the gun's not reliable, that'll make especially the higher end competitors just walk away. And it's why I tell a lot of people, you want to see what works, go look at how many of those guns are at a match. And there's certain, like a pistol match, for example, there's certain gun companies you don't see there. At all, like big reason. Companies, huge companies that aren't even at a match. Like you won't even see one of their guns in a match. And then some of those companies like Glock and CZ and SIG, you see those companies there, and it's like, well, where are these? Well, the guns aren't working, and these are guys, putting the rounds down range, doing the time, and they notice like if it's not shootable and it's not reliable, I'm not going to compete with it. So just. Let's hope that kind of gives you guys a little jump start into where to go when you start looking into these rifles. What's your Instagram?
At Kyle Litzie. Last name is Litzie.
Litzie. So check out Kyle, guys. Look at his Instagram page if you want to see like what's possible. That was what was really cool for me today, being around you. I like shot that long range stage and I was like, oh, that's a pretty good time. And you like did it like 20 seconds faster than me. Super annoying. Check out Kyle, guys, and give him a follow, and we'll see you guys again soon. Boom!